Yeah, boys and girls, now answer me this question. Answer this question, boys and girls. What is the most overused, abused, and weaponized word in Indian politics since the past 10 years? What is the answer? Yes? Secularism? All of you agree? Yes? Secularism, most abused. If you say you're a secular person or you believe in secular politics, you'll be called a secular person. If you say you're against secularism, you're called a communal or a Hindutva, Sanghi, Bhakt, or a fundamentalist. Why is it so abused? Are there multiple versions of secularism? Is America secular? Is the United Kingdom secular? Or is just India secular? Or are there different versions of secularism practiced in different countries? Yes. And what is secular? So many questions, just one topic. When a topic has so many questions, naturally the topic is highly contested, highly debated. There is no singular agreement on what the word means or how the concept should be employed or incorporated in the constitution or in day-to-day politics. So what is secular? Where does the word secular come from? What is the origins of the word secular? What is the root of secularism or the word secular, the concept? Because I always tell you, always understand the etymology, the origins of anything. Let's see the origins of the word secular. So it's highly debated as to whether the origins is, whether it's Latin or Old French, not the modern French. What is the exact origin? Still debated, but let's understand like this. Secular. Yes. So they say this root word of secular means in this world, this world. So all of you know secularism deals with the relationship between state and religion. Yes, state and religion, the relationship, what kind of relationship it has. Is the relationship between state and religion concept of mutual exclusion? Is there a wall between religion and state, as in the case of the United States of America? Or does India have an established religion, such as in the case of England, the UK, the Church of England, Anglican Church? Or is it an Islamic republic? So secularism, or different versions of it, deals with the relationship between state and religion. Yes, so state, you know, is part of this world, right? Government, state, man, individual, society, government, all of these things are part of this world. Is religion concerned about this world? State is of course concerned about this world. The government, you pay the taxes, the government comes up with laws and policies for the betterments of society and the citizens. Yes, what does religion care about? Most religions care about the other world, not this world, other world. Yes, the other world, or the eternal world, the other world, the kingdom of God, heaven, salvation, moksha, Swarga, Narka, Jannat, Hell, Heaven. Yes, these are other worlds. Something that you don't know exists. Something that you cannot prove with your sensory organs, with your empirical observation. No, it is the other world. Religion is concerned with outworldly phenomena or outworldly experience. What would happen to you after you die? These things. Statement are not concerned about the other world, they're concerned about this world. Here and now. Religion is concerned about eternity. Yes. State, this world is concerned about here and now. Temporary things. Temporal. Yes, that is why the secular world, the real world, is called as the temporal world or the temporal matters. State matters. Matters concerning the state. Administrative state, administrative matters, secular matters, temporal matters, right? All these are opposed to the eternal matters or the religious matters or the spiritual matters or the outworldly matters of religion. Yes? So eternal, here the corresponding word would be what, boys and girls? Yes, tell me. The corresponding word would be temporal. Yes, temporary. So all these debates, this world, in this world, other world, outer world, heaven, hell, Jannat, moksha, nirvana, all these debates were happening where? In Europe. All these were happening. These talks, these debates, these concepts, they all came up where? In Europe. During the late Middle Ages. The 14th century and the 15th century Europe. Yes. And that is where our story's hero will come from. What is his name? What is the name of our story's hero, boys and girls? What is the name of our story's hero? Yes. Niccolo Machiavelli. Yes, Niccolo Machiavelli. Yes. Who was Niccolo Machiavelli? He was from Florence. Florence was a small Italian state on the Italian peninsula, which itself, the modern day Italy that we know today, was divided into 5 states, and Florence was one among those 5 states. He was from Florence, or let's take, in general, understand it as Italy. Yes, his times, late Middle Ages, or the Renaissance period. Yes, right. And what was he famous for? He's called as the father of realpolitik. Yes, the father of realpolitik. Or in the French language, it's also called as raison d'etat. This you'll understand much better when we do international relations in the classroom. Yes, realpolitik and raison d'etat, and also he is called as the father of the modern secular state. Modern secular state. Most of the people would call him as the father of secular state. There was nobody secular before him. No. The actual credit goes to, as the father of secular state, goes to Anaxagoras. He was during the times of Plato, right? Ancient Greeks, Anaxagoras, right? So, but that's what I'm mentioning. He was the modern. He was the father of modern secular state, not secular state in general. Yes. So, boys and girls, what were Machiavelli's concerns? Machiavelli's concerns. Keep writing with me. Right? When I'm talking to you, when I'm teaching, don't write. When I'm on the board, you can also write. Right? So, Machiavelli's concerns. First concern, political order and stability. Yes. Second concern, prosperity of the citizens. Political order and stability of the state. That is why political order, naturally it would mean the state, right? Prosperity of the citizens. Why? Because if the citizens of the state are prosperous and there is growth in commerce and culture, naturally the state itself would be strengthened, and a strong state would have strong order, creating a virtuous, wonderful cycle. Yes? And of course, was also concerned with the unification of Italy. Unification of Italy. This is not the same unification as it happened in the 19th century. No. This unification that happened 150 years ago was based on nationalist lines, linguistic nationalist lines. This unification was more geographical in nature. The Italian peninsula, which had been divided into 5 states, right? Machiavelli was concerned with the unification of the Italian peninsula, not the Italian nation. Yes, so don't get confused. So Machiavelli was concerned with political order and stability of the state, and he was from Florence, so naturally his home city of Florence he would be concerned with. And then he was concerned regarding the prosperity of the citizens, right? And of course, the unity of Italy. He was well aware that he belonged to this larger group, that is the group of Italians living in the Italian peninsula, right? He was concerned with these 3 things more than anything. And to all these 3 concerns, what was the biggest roadblock or stumbling block? तो माकियावेली का concerns को कौन रोक रहा था? To achieve all this was the big fat elephant who was blocking the road. It was the church. It was the church. Yes. Church or the papacy, pope. Yes. All these 3 things could not happen because of one institution, that was the church. Yes, of course, on MALUKA IAS channel, I have taught how the Roman Empire's decline impacted the church. You can watch that. You'll understand with complete clarity. But still, let me make you understand this briefly here and now. So you know the Roman Empire existed, this glorious, magnificent Roman Empire existed for 500 years as a Mediterranean-based empire with its capital in Italy. Yes. The Romans, the empire had a frontier along the Rhine River, today's natural frontier between France and Germany. That frontier along the Rhine River, beyond that Rhine River, modern-day Germany, in those areas during the Roman times, during the times of the empire, the Germanic tribes lived, and these tribes kept on invading Roman Empire, right? Like we have the situation at the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. Yes. So barbaric Germans kept on invading the empire. And this repeated invasions for 200 years had weakened the authority of the emperor. Yes, the Roman emperor. This weakness for 200 years was exploited by whom? Yes, by the church and the pope. So a rival power center emerged and it on ascending while the power of the emperor or the Roma imperator kept on weakening. Yes. So even after the empire collapsed, the power of the church or the papacy never went down. Never. They arrogated to themselves more and more power, more and more power. And when someone is powerful, and to maintain that power, what is the age-old policy? The policy of divide and rule, the policy that the British employed here in India. The same way, the Pope had used this policy of divide and rule with mischief, with intervention, with meddling in politics between kings. Yes, so Italy had been divided because of the church. Of course, so many things can be added to this as part of your history. That is, when the Roman Empire collapsed, the church was in danger. The Germanic tribes had overrun the empire. The church was in danger, and the Pope called for help, and he sought the help of the Germans, one particular Germanic tribe, the Franks, and they offered their help. And the Pope called them, oh, you're the new Christians, you're the new Romans. And the Franks were so happy, they gave a part of land at the central part of the Italian peninsula to the Pope for him to directly administer it. What later became the Papal States, where the Pope, who was the head and father of all of Christian world, was also a secular head and an administrative head, effectively a king in a small region, center of the Italian peninsula. Right. So Pope used other kings in Italy, meddled in the politics, in the affairs of the state, in the secular matters of the state, in the temporal matters, when he should have just been concerned regarding the spiritual matters or the religious matters. No, he was also interfering, right, in the matters of the state. Because of this, because of the papacy, Italy had been disunited. And the same papacy was one of the reasons why the Holy Roman Empire, the successor state of the Roman Empire, the Germanic successor state in Germany, was also kept divided with their relationship with the Habsburg family. Again, forget that, right? So unity of Italy had been compromised. And then prosperity of citizens was also not happening because of the church. Why is that? Why is that? Because the church was concerned about what? Again, remember what I taught earlier? The church was concerned about otherworldly matters or heaven, life in eternity, eternal life. अभी इस समय जीवन में तुम क्या करोगे? Be like this, be soft, be kind, be stupid, don't do business, don't give money for interest, always worship God, go to the church, feed the poor, do nothing, no adventure, no nothing, don't wonder regarding the skies or the ocean, what is beyond the ocean, just think the earth is flat. Don't do anything. Be stupid, meek and mild and fearful of God. Then only you will be accepted into heaven. The church was teaching all these things. Around the same time, Vasco da Gama, Christopher Columbus of the Iberian kingdoms, Spain and Portugal, had found a direct sea route to India, to Indonesia. They were trading with the East Indies and the East, amassing wealth. They had found the Americas, El Dorado, KGF of South America. prosperity. They were seeing prosperity. And here, Italy, divided. People are scared, fearful, only worried about salvation, moksha, the other world, what would happen after you die, when you go to Jannat, these things. So when men are fearful and not what, remember boys and girls, when the charter was granted by the Queen Elizabeth I to the British East India Company, what were they called? Merchants, adventurers. Yes, the word entrepreneur, which is so famous now, can be traced back to these merchants, adventurers. Yes. So in the Middle Ages, during the age of discovery, new continents, new landscapes were discovered, new markets were discovered. You had to be adventurous to become prosperous. And the church was again a big stumbling block. There also, Machiavelli was again against the church. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, the church kept on meddling in the affairs of different kings all over Europe. So would this not compromise stability, order in any polity, in any principality, in any monarchy? Yes, it was. So Machiavelli was against the church. Boys and girls, you did not notice one thing probably, that he was not against religion, he was against the church. Right? Institutional domination of religion he was against. Not religion per se, not religion intrinsically. No. He was against the church or the papacy. Yes? Write these quickly. One more problem was the church had no moral standing. It had no genuine moral standing. Why was that? For all its sermons, achhe baat, are bhaiya, be altruistic, be like Karna, be good to thy neighbor, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, thou shalt not covet, thou shalt not steal, you shall not. So many values that the church had, that the church was preaching, telling its citizens, be fearful of God. Sex was not for pleasure, but only for procreation. The nuns and the saints and the popes were all celibate or brahmacharya, chastity. For all these that they preached, Machiavelli noticed one thing. What they're doing is nothing but BS. I don't want to tell the full form of BS, all of you know. It was nonsense, hypocritical. On the one hand, the church is making people foolish and stupid, lacking adventure. While the church, people who run the church, they themselves were bad, evil, selfish, pleasure-seeking. The example was, during Machiavelli's times, there was one pope called Pope Alexander VI. Pope Alexander VI had a love child, a bastardo, a bastard child. All of you must have seen Game of Thrones, would know the meaning of bastard. The Pope had a bastard child, a love child, an illegitimate child. Pope Alexander had sired an illegitimate child by breaking his vows of celibacy and chastity. Yes. So how can the Pope or the church or the papacy claim any moral high ground or a moral standing? And Machiavelli, all of you well know, was an empirical person. He thought empirically. He observed things. He was a realist. He saw what is. He described them. What really is happening at the ground level. Not some ideas, not some high ideals. No, he focused on what is rather than what ought to be. Yes? So he noticed that the church had no moral standing to be preaching all this. This was one problem. Yes? Next, let's understand his influences. We are still discussing Machiavelli's version of secularism. First, we've discussed who Machiavelli was, where the word secularism comes from, and then later we have also understood what his concerns were, what he was worried about, and who was his enemy. The church, not religion, boys and girls. Church, organized institutional domination by the church and the papacy. Then what was he now let's understand his influences. His influences, yes. First, you all well know he was a Renaissance thinker. Yes, so let's understand his influences. First, you all well know, boys and girls, he was a Renaissance thinker. What is Renaissance? All of you know this very well. MALUKA IAS channel have taught this topic. Renaissance and political order, Reformation and political order. Briefly, but with clarity, you will understand. It is in complete storytelling format, right? Renaissance thinker. Yes, so naturally Renaissance means what? Revival of classical works of ancient Greeks and ancient Romans. Yes, so all the scholars of Renaissance, the chief among them was Machiavelli. They all realized, oh, these Greeks and these Romans lived 1,500 years before us. And yet, they were more rational, more empirical, more observant of what was happening around them. They did not ascribe all credit to God, like we are doing here in the Dark Ages, in the Middle Ages Europe. No, they were rational, yes, empirical. So that was one thing Machiavelli borrowed from Renaissance, from the Greeks because of Renaissance, yes. Empirical, observe. And because of his empiricism, he had become a realist. When you observe what is happening, rather than what ought to happen, what ought to be, right? So because of his empiricism that he borrowed from the Greeks, because of Renaissance, he became a realist, focusing on ground reality. What is? काश ऐसे होता है, ऐसा होने चाहिए. No. क्या है वही है भैया. Right. This is one thing. Then he took some examples of the always thinkers. Machiavelli also had historical approach. He had adopted historical approach. During his times, Italy was divided. And was there any time when Italy stood at the center of a glorious empire? Yes, the Roman Empire. But Machiavelli was more concerned with the predecessor of the Roman Empire. What was in existence before the empire was forged by Augustus Caesar in first 1 AD? No. So Machiavelli was more concerned about Roman Republic, the ancient Roman Republic before it became an empire, right? So he was influenced by the Roman Republic. Yes, the ancient Roman Republic before Christ. What was he? What inspired him or influenced him with regards to Roman Republic? First was their religion. That is paganism. Hinduism is a form of pagan religion. In pagan religion, there is no one God or one Messiah or one holy book or any singular one organization, the church or the Pope. No. Roman paganism, Greek paganism, Germanic paganism, Thor, god of thunder, Odin, right? And Greek paganism, Zeus, god of lightning. He also had a thunderbolt like our Indira, right? And of course, you had other gods, Hades, Apollo, Poseidon. Hades, god of the underworld, Poseidon, god of water, right? Ministers in heaven, right? Concerned regarding, they all had their own ministries and departments. Yes, paganism. So what is this telling us? Why was it concerned regarding paganism? One, because it had multiple gods, which also meant multiple ideas of the good life, right? In Christianity or singular religions, there is only one good life. And that good life, if you follow, you will get salvation. In pagan religion, that is not the case. The same with Hindu philosophy. There are multiple versions of the good life. Yes, ancient history book. This is one aspect. What was the second aspect? Second aspect was the ancient Roman Republic, the state and man was glorified, not God, not some God that you cannot see, not some book, not some Messiah that you never met. There's no existence of having come, having arrived, having gotten the message from Gabriel or whoever. Ancient Roman pagans, they glorified the state and the man, right? Man and state were glorified, such as warriors, Hercules. You may have seen the film Troy, Achilles, great soldiers, great generals, they were glorified. Machiavelli, like I said, everything is a connected whole, boys and girls. Machiavelli's time was the age of discovery. Age of discovery, merchants, adventurers, entrepreneurs, sailors, navigators, seafarers. It was the time for money, markets, commerce, adventure, spices, gold and silver. You needed strong, fearless, brave, courageous, adventurous men, right? But the state was inhibiting from this happening, right? So the state was inhibiting this sort of men to come in Italy. Italy could not generate these sort of men. So Machiavelli was very worried about this, because he wanted to adopt the Roman pagan values, such as glorifying man, his works, his fearlessness, his courageousness. That is one thing. Yes. And another important point, boys and girls, very important, Aristotle, your second thinker in the syllabus, paper 1, section 8, topic number 10, Western political thought. Who's the second thinker? Yes, Aristotle. Yes. Quickly, boys and girls. Aristotle. So what did Machiavelli adopt and learn from Aristotle? How did Aristotle influence Machiavelli? Yes, because it was the time of the Renaissance and Aristotle was an ancient Greek political philosopher. His works had been rediscovered and widely read by many Renaissance scholars, including Machiavelli. What did Machiavelli learn from Aristotle? First of all, empirical approach. Where did he learn from? Aristotle. That we have covered. Then historical approach, which he has done, again covered. He saw the history of the Roman Republic. Yes, historical approach he had learned. Then he believed that every institution or concept had a function. Aristotle was a functionalist, boys and girls. You all remember this in the classes. Aristotle was a functionalist. Yes, he saw functional utility in every institution. Remember, how he defended the institution of private property and slavery by seeing some functional utility in these institutions. Yes, Machiavelli also borrowed this idea of functional utility of any institution. Yes, also Machiavelli learnt another thing, that was Aristotle's postulation that the state is the highest of all associations. Yes. The state is the highest of all associations. Yes. State is supreme. All these he borrowed from Aristotle. Yes. And then he will incorporate all these in his theories. Yes, remember again, he was not against religion. He was against the church and the papacy. Right? He was never against religion. He may have been an atheist himself, but he was not against religion. Yes? Clear? Written down his influences. One more important contemporary influence, if you see, if you all know that he had noticed how bad, wicked, evil men were with his empirical, realistic approach. Yes. Another influence that he had was the power arrangement in the Byzantine Empire. This is also Byzantine, of course, now historians call it as Byzantine Empire because the area around Constantinople or modern day Istanbul was called as Byzantium by Romans in ancient times. That is why it is now called as, in retrospect, the Byzantine Empire or the Eastern Roman Empire or the Greco-Roman Empire. Yeah, so this was, the capital of this empire was in Constantinople. And all of you know very well, when the Roman Empire collapsed, only the western part of it collapsed in the 6th century AD. Yes, the western sector of the Roman Empire, the western administrative division of the empire with its capital in Rome, that collapsed. The eastern sector, the Greek side, the Turkic side, the Anatolian side, the Eastern Roman Empire went on to live for another 1,000 years till, of course, Sultan of Turkey, the Ottoman Sultan, invaded in 1453 and the Byzantine Empire or the Eastern Roman Empire also fell. Right? So after the Eastern Roman Empire had fallen, many scholars of the Eastern Roman Empire fled across the Aegean Sea. They fled across the Mediterranean Sea and they went to Italy. Right. Machiavelli noticed this empire's power arrangement. They had a power arrangement called, nobody would teach you this, boys and girls, called as Caesaropapism. Caesaropapism. I mentioned earlier how the power of the Pope increased, how the Pope exploited the weakness of the Roman Emperor and the Pope arrogated to himself too much powers, right? Over centuries, this phenomena did not happen in the Eastern Roman Empire because the Eastern Roman Empire was not facing notorious barbaric Germanic tribes along their border, right? They were not facing any notorious barbaric tribes along their borders. So what happened? The emperor of Byzantine, the emperor always remained supreme, and under the emperor the church came. Yes, in the case of Western Roman Empire, near Italy, emperor power kept on declining and the church power kept on ascending. And over time, emperor had come down, the church had gone up. It had become supreme. Here, it never happened. The emperor always stayed supreme and the church came under it. Caesar comes first, Pope comes second. Caesaro-papism. So Machiavelli saw this, and this he connected this Byzantine concept with the concept he borrowed from Aristotle, state supremacy. That is, the state is the highest of all institutions. Here the state, the emperor, was indeed the highest institution under which the Pope came. Yes? Now let's get into the question. Understood? All the influences of Machiavelli, these are the influences which made Machiavelli secular. Right? Now let's understand his view towards religion. Written? His view towards religion. View towards, he was against the Pope. Now let's understand his view towards religion. What approach he had borrowed from Aristotle? Functionalist approach. Yes, functional utility. Machiavelli was not anti-religion because he had a functionalist view towards religion. That is, functional utility. इसका कहीं फायदा उठा सकता है क्या हम? Right? Can we take advantage of religion, make use of it as an instrument? Right? Instrument, another keyword. Yes, write these keywords. And of course, he was empirical. And he was a realist. If you see, today, you may have met many friends who are atheists, who don't believe in God, but they don't want you also to believe in God. Right? They think only they're smart because they're smarter because they're atheists. That, oh, I know, bro, there is no God. I'm a man of science, bro. Machiavelli was not like that. He respected religion. He believed that humanity needs religion because he was an empirical realist. He had studied history, he was empirical, he was functional. All these three approaches made him very sympathetic and respectful towards religion. As a social force, कुछ काम का आता है religion. How? He believed that God played a huge role in the lives of ordinary men. Forget ordinary men. What happens in the Mahabharata? When Arjuna asks Krishna, "Oh Lord, show me your Vishvarupa." And then Krishna assumes this Vishnu, Vishvarupa, godly avatar, in all its full glory, Godhead. And then he says, "I am time, the destroyer of the worlds." Arjuna is shocked. He's awestruck. He's scared. He's fearful. If a great warrior like Arjuna could be so fearful, and if God could keep Arjuna in awe and demand and command obedience, what about the ordinary man? So, because Machiavelli was an empirical realist, he believed that man should have God in his life. So, what is the instrument? What is the functional utility, the instrumentality of religion? What is the use, fayda of religion, of having religion in society instead of eradicating it? Machiavelli said, religion can be used as an instrument religion can be used as an instrument to strengthen the state. Instrument to strengthen the state. जाओ भूमि पूजन करो, राम मंदिर की पूजन करो. Because people respect it. Parliament, new parliament, how Central Vista is being built. Bhumi Pujan karo. Arre bhaiya, Parliament, Samvidhan, Temple of Democracy. Machiavelli said, people believe in God. And if the state, if the king or the prince wants to command obedience from his citizens or his subjects, the laws that he makes, usko thoda package de do. एक gift wrap करो भगवान की. उसका पूजा करवाओ वो लॉज को. देन पीपल, हाँ भगवान है भैया, भगवान की आशीर्वाद है. He believed it. If he had come to India in the ancient times, हाँ, he would have said, Brahman Kshatriya combination बहुत अच्छा है, चंगा चंगा. It was a good combination. The king was legitimized and given blessing or ashirwad from the Brahman priest. This was somewhat similar, because he believed that God was so important in the ordinary man's life, and if the state had to use something, it should be religion, which was very important, because if you give a religious spin to the laws and commands and policies of the king or the state, then people would gladly obey them. It would be easier to command their obedience if you give a religious spin to your policies. This he believed because he was empirical, he was a functionalist. He had seen the functional utility of religion. He was influenced by the great Aristotle. Written down. So, view towards religion. What were the approaches? He was not against religion, he was against the church, he was pro-religion. How? He used empirical approach, then functional approach, realist approach, and then what? Empirical, realist, functional, and the most important of them all, political. Yes? Political. His view towards religion was political, not theological. Not theological. Not theological. Yes, boys and girls. He was not worried about salvation or moksha or eternity or nirvana. No, he was only worried. What was his first concern? I wrote political order and stability of the state, then prosperity of the citizens of the state and the unified Italy. Right? He wanted to use religion to win all those three goals of his. Yes, it was the same. It was the institution of religion, which was the church, which again made politics in Europe and Italy unstable, which made people stupid and they were not prosperous. It was the same church which kept Italy divided. Yes, but Machiavelli wants to use not the church but religion in a very smart, instrumental way to first provide order and stability and obedience to his state. Second, to make people prosperous. Religion, remember what religion he liked? Roman paganism, which glorified man, brave men, courageous men. They didn't say, be like this, stupid. No. Right? In that way. And then finally his other goal, unifying Italy. See this lecture, boys and girls. Who was Machiavelli? His times. See the flow. Just see the flow. All of you are clear? Who was Machiavelli? Then his concerns. Right? His visions versus his enemies, the church, and his concerns. Then this influences. Yes, then his view of religion, everything has come a full circle. Everything is connected, or have made it look connected. Clear? Everything holistically understood in your head, boys and girls? Have you written all the bullet points down? Yes? Now let's look at the answer. So this is the question, 10-mark question this year, 2020 PSIR paper. Machiavelli's Secularism comment, 10-marker. Yes? So let's look at the introduction here. Machiavelli recommended the separation of state from religion and making the state the supreme association with religion as one of its instruments. Machiavelli was the first modern thinker to base political authority on power, fear, and will of the people. The beauty of this introduction, let me tell you. The beauty of this introduction. First, basic secularism topic, separation of state and religion, the relationship between state and religion, that is secularism. That is what any version of secularism is all about. Of course, there are different versions which tells the different relationships. And then making the state supreme association, Aristotelian concept. Yes, Caesaro-papism, state is supreme, highest of all, under which everything else comes. Same as Thomas Hobbes's Leviathan. Leviathan is supreme, under which the temporal associations come and the ecclesiastical or religious associations also come. Yes, same. That point is there, supreme association with religion as one of its instruments. His functional utilitarian approach, that is also mentioned in this. And the first modern thinker to base political authority not on God or divine ordinance, no, but on power, fear, and will of the people. See, I've combined power and fear. Machiavelli talks about power and fear in the book Prince. His book Prince, yes, power and fear. But his mature work that he wrote later, Discourses, where he talks in a more democratic way, in a more democratic fashion, there he talks about republicanism, democracy, will of the people. Yes, so a holistic phrase I've written, power, fear, and will of the people. Yes, just see the beauty of the introduction. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4.5 lines. But many points are here as part of its undercurrents. Many points. 6 to 7 points in just 4 lines. It is all about word play here, word play. In political science, boys and girls, that is why we need to practice daily. Daily. Right? With minimum words, maximum marks we have to gain. Yes? This is the introduction. See? It is like a summary of Machiavellian secularism. It is a summary. When the examiner reads this, you've crunched in a grammatically correct, in one sentence, in 2 sentences, in just one introduction, so many points, entire summary of this Machiavelli secularism is there in the introduction itself. It will blow the examiner's mind. Why? Because he'll realize, oh my God, concept clear hai bande ka. This boy or girl knows Machiavelli secularism very well. Right? With finesse, he has combined all points in one go. Then, sorry. Next, let's see the body of the answer. Let's see the body of the answer. First, introduction, full summary has been given. Second in the body, 2 paragraphs. Machiavelli viewed the church as an obstacle to the stability of the state. We have discussed this. It was. Then the unity of Italy as a nation. Yes, as one people, on one geography, as one people, right? And the prosperity of her people, because the church had made people stupid and weak, right? No adventure, no desire for trade, for money, for gold, for wealth, right? In distant lands, in the age of discovery and Renaissance. Yes, so the church, he simple in 1.5 lines, 2.5 lines, he viewed the church as, see the points, stability of the people, right? Unity of Italy and prosperity of all, his visions and his concerns, जिसके बारे में ये चिंता था, इसका चिंता था, right? All three were having problems with the church. That is, to all his visions, the biggest obstacle was the church. Yes, that is also given here. And then next, his influences. When we talk about influences here, why we need to write influences is, you can mention Aristotle, right? You can mention parts of history, historical, because Machiavelli had historical understanding. He had a historical approach, he had the functionalist approach, he had the empirical approach. Yes, so all that can be mentioned here. He was influenced by his times, because Machiavelli is also called a child of his times. So do we not have to, we should mention Renaissance. He was a Renaissance thinker. Even some people call him even the first modern thinker. I don't believe that. Hobbes was the first modern thinker. So let's call Machiavelli as a child of his times. His times were the Renaissance. Yes. So he was influenced by Renaissance rationality, right? Empiricism, which was again because of Renaissance. Earlier Greek empiricism was revived. Yes, observation. Because of empiricism, he had become a realist. Yes, observant, right? And of course, the age of discovery, which made men seek adventure, money, and gold. Yes, the age of discovery, Vasco da Gama, Christopher Columbus, all that. And then entrepreneurship. Then the ancient Roman Republic, and ancient Roman Republic's religion, pagan religion, where state and brave warrior men were glorified. Yes. And of course, the Byzantine Empire, where the state was supreme, like Aristotle said it was. The state is highest of all associations, right? Caesaropapism, all mentioned. Yes. And he was also influenced by Aristotle's. He was also influenced by He was also influenced by Aristotle's functionalist approach. Therefore, he did not want to extinguish religion itself from society. He did not want to extinguish religion. He did not like the church. He was against the church, but not against religion. Yes, he did not want to extinguish religion itself from society. He regarded, or he argued, religion should be used as an instrument of the state to command obedience. Right? Because people believe in God. It's natural human tendency to believe in fiction, fantasy, Harry Potter, Avada Kedavra. Yes? And religion can be used to command obedience and respect for the authority of the state. Right? So his approach was pragmatic, realist, empirical, functional, and of course, political. His view towards religion was political. Right? As a political instrument, not theology, not salvation, not some higher goal. Yes, as he understood the significant role of God played in the lives of ordinary man, and how this fear and respect for the divine could be used politically to strengthen the state, right? To maintain the stability of the state, right? And of course, So next, let's do the conclusion now with three thinkers' critical evaluation. If you only mention Gandhi, again, it would be very unfair for Machiavelli, because Machiavelli was a Renaissance thinker who had experienced the worst, who had seen the worst because of religion and church, right? And using Gandhi, who believed in some other religion, Hinduism and Jainism and Buddhism, right? And using Gandhi's ideas, merely Gandhi's ideas, and criticizing Machiavelli would be unfair. And so let's use Gandhi first. He believed politics should be guided by morals, the morals that he had adopted during the freedom struggle, during his politics: satyagraha, truth, ahimsa, non-violence, satya. Yes, one, not brute force and power, because if you see, boys and girls, Gandhi's politics was directed against the British Empire. And British Empire, the British Raj in India, was a secular state. The British Raj did not have an established religion in India, right? And it did not promote any particular religion, a supreme value. No, the British Raj was a secular state. But merely being a secular state did not make British Raj any good. Now, did it? Because it was an amoral secular state. The morals of the British Raj, even though it was secular, was not justice or equity or fairness or any goodness. No, it was power, plunder, loot with brute force. Yes, they were looting us. Did they ever care about us, our demands, our self-determination, our happiness? They did not. So merely being secular and basing everything on power is not good. That is what Gandhi is saying, right? And of course, our own Machiavelli, rather, Chanakya is bigger and Machiavelli is European Chanakya. So Chanakya or Kautilya, he believed in dharmic supremacy, that dharma is even above the rulers. Dharma is always hovering above the heads of the kings. It is like the constitution. Supreme, right? Dharma is always supreme. So dharma has morals and ethics. Yes, religion. Yes. And of course, use Plato also, because he is the father of Western philosophy, right? Western political philosophy. And Machiavelli, we are studying as part of Western political thought. So naturally, it would make sense to use another Western thinker. Machiavelli borrowed a lot of ideas from Aristotle. Aristotle ka baap or guru kaun tha? Plato, right? So use Plato again to criticize Machiavelli, right? Because Plato had married ethics and politics, right? And of course, religion gives a lot of ethics. So Plato had married ethics and politics, and according to Machiavelli, if politics is purely based on power, instrumentality and brute force and tact and finesse, then Plato would say, no, this would lead to injustice in Florence. Machiavelli, beta, तुम्हारा जो शहर है Florence in Italy, उसमें बहुत अन्याय होगा, injustice in your polis. Yes, clear, boys and girls? This is the answer. Yes, write this down. Write the answer down, boys and girls.